But the thing is, now PlayStation and Xbox have their own app stores where they can also download the game.
True story. But that was the end of the final conversation that we just had. That was the tail end of that conversation. Lucky, I put it to you.
Yes.
That printed books are superior to e-books. I say print is the only truth. Defend your electronic side.
Well, this is going to be fun since I'm only a very recent convert to the electronic side.
Yeah, well, I read more than you do, so... Yeah, that's the point, is to take counter-arguments.
Yes.
So, I say good old-fashioned printed book pulp is far superior to the electronic curse.
I will say electronic books are more convenient. So I shall elaborate on that. So, since I've started using my phone as an ebook reader with Google Play Books, I have almost tripled my average books per year. Because you can't always carry a huge clunky book around with you, whereas my phone literally has an entire library in it at my beckoning as long as I've got power. So on my way to work in the morning, I just flip my phone out of my pocket, open the book, and I carry on reading. Whereas where I tried to do that with a real book a few times, it was like, okay, you're standing on the platform for 5 minutes, you get like 2 pages read. Then the train pulls up, so you have to get in the train. But then you forgot where you were in the page, so you take a few minutes to realign yourself. And it's like you kept getting disrupted as you stop, start, which throws me. When I read, I have to read for a lot. I can't like read a little bit. I zone out and I go for it, and I'd have to do at least a full chapter. And on the phone, I can kind of just keep going.
Yeah.
And if I hadn't planned on something, I have the books if I get stuck somewhere type of thing.
Good argument. I agree though, but still. Problem with ebook. For one, it makes books easy to download, which completely is destroying the publishing world, because now that people can just Pirate Bay all their books and everything else. So authors don't get paid, stories are not being written, profits not being made, therefore they're going to kill off reading altogether. It's going to be dead. Deader than Raven's life. Therefore, also having e-books, there's no consistency with e-books. I could write some shit and turn it into a PDF and unleash it on the internet, and it could be classed as a book. Whereas an actual book, I need editors and pro editors and designers and all sorts of hundreds of people to make the book become a book, so it can go in the shop, and therefore everybody can read it because it has the same type size, the same standard, and therefore it's perfect. Whereas an e-book, it's a hit and miss constantly with what you're going to get.
That's like a pro and a con at the same time. I personally don't like PDF ebooks because you're kind of stuck to page layout, whatever. I like the .epubs because I can switch between a phone, a tablet, a computer screen, and the text just auto realigns itself to best fit that size.
Yeah.
Which is nice, but that's just a little side note. Thing is, first of all, yes,
we have no bananas. We have no bananas today.
Yes, the option of the book going out in the wild illicitly is there. Technically, if I had a real book, I could scan the whole thing and do it anyway. Sure. It would be a lot more effort, but...
We saw that with the rise of the recording of facilities on VHS tape. Yeah. Everyone said you're going to record shows and it'll all be illegal all over the place. And it was to an extent in some places, but the majority no.
But, I mean, that on its own could be an entire episode of this, about piracy's good and bad. But... it's out there. But on the other hand, someone like me, who has no experience, no formal training, apart from a bit of pointers I've picked up from you, who is actually working on, well, actually 2 at the moment, books, actually has a shot.
If only you could actually work on some fucking articles.
I almost did one and then I fucked it up and lost it, so we won't go there.
There's no work ever gets done because I'm too busy writing lots of stuff for people.
But yeah, I can basically have a shot of getting something out there that someone might actually read it. Whereas if there was no Google Play Books, random other sites with downloads of EPUBs and things, I don't have enough of a foot in the door anywhere that I could get a publisher to publish something I've written.
It's practically impossible, I know. Trust me.
Whereas if I wanted to, I could sign up for an account on Google Play Books, upload my PDF or EPUB or whatever I've got, choose a price if I want to, or make it free if I want to, and it's there available to anybody to searches with the right words.
I'm noting that website down quick.
Google Play Books.
Google. You've mentioned it before, but I always forgot the bloody name. We're always doing it at times like this, and I always forget to write the bloody name down.
The one argument I will give against ebooks, though, they should be cheaper than the print version.
I was actually about to say, I mean, cost-wise, a print book, much of a muchness to an ebook, therefore it'd just be easy to buy a good old print book, maybe 10 rand more here
Thing
or there.
Is, a print book, you're paying for paper, you're paying for ink, you're paying for delivery, you're paying for shipping. So an ebook should be relatively less because you're not having to pay that stuff to make the same profit.
Yes.
And that should be then using ebooks to make books more accessible to everyone by having them much more reasonably priced.
Yes. But people don't.
Yeah, well, publishers get greedy.
Well, they're trying to hold on. They never. I remember, books have only ever been read by about 5% of the human race.
Yeah.
Most people don't read books. And 80% of all Americans get everything they know from the TV man. Yeah.
And the ones who do read from websites like truthmissiongovernance.org.
I've never gone to that website.
I don't know if it exists. I was just taking the cliche names that these sorts of websites have and making up some.
Yeah, but you never know. We must
it might actually be there.
Governance.
Like, I keep seeing all this massive, like, racist white pride stuff that people share. Like, see, that's not me that's racist. This is an actual thing. And then you see, like, the website where it's like the European Night Foundation. It's like, you realize that any idiot with 50 rand can buy a website and put whatever the fuck they want on there. Especially when it's got some obscure name like that. My favorite is I have no idea where this guy came from, but he's on my Facebook. And he's always posting these articles of like star alignments affecting this political campaign, and it's like the website is something like the testimony of the two witnesses on thing.com/org, and it's like Katy Perry doesn't exist. She's some pseudo identity created because the person she actually is had her murder faked when she was a child. And I was like, how do you even come up with this shit? I mean, I love conspiracy theories, but fuck me, some of the stuff out there.
Have you told Adele about this person and website?
I'm scared to.
It could be hilarious. You can have fun for days. Yeah, but people do tend to read shit.
The problem is people read shit, and if it's something they like, it's always automatically true. If it's something they don't like, it's always automatically made up bullshit.
Hence religion. And the avocado man. I actually have a friend who believes in him. It makes me so sad. Avocados are not magic. They're fucking disgusting. That's all they are. They're a war crime, not a
I like avocados, but they're nice and tasty, and I eat them. I'm not some curly head guy who says mushrooms are space aliens and chocolate is a form of the sun.
Definitely did way too much LSD. That's probably back in the 90s when ravers were hardcore. But we're way off topic, isn't it? We haven't stuck to a topic.
It's never bad to badmouth the wolf. Do not cry wolf, because he's a moron. Well, no, actually he's not a moron, because he's making millions selling people water.
He is a great con man.
Yes.
He's a good businessman, entrepreneur, whatever they call themselves, I don't know. It's hippie bullshit in my book. But yeah, book. Good old paper. Libraries are dying. Bookshops are dying. And these are sins. And we need more libraries and bookshops. And less ebooks. Less people squinting on a bloody phone. And more people, squinting in a large press book.
Yes, we do need more libraries and bookshops. And I put it to you that ebooks are bringing books to more people, and thus reinvigorating a passion in reading, which should then inspire more people to go to libraries and bookshops.
Interesting theory, but the majority of them will just buy more ebooks. Most of them wouldn't set foot in a library. They just go buy ebooks. It's just easier.
I know a friend of mine, who...
One thing I will give ebooks, though, is my reading material in this house has always been somewhat limited to whatever was in the spare room until I sold all the books there.
Yeah.
Mostly it was what they call furniture books. Leather-bound volumes. They look good with your furniture. I only have those books on that shelf there. So, going online, and you can find the top one. I've downloaded a lot of free ebooks, the 100 Great Classics, H.P. Lovecraft, Holmes, Poe, all these great things I've always liked, because you can get them for free because the authors are dead, therefore the book is now public domain.
Yeah.
So I have downloaded thousands of the great works for nothing. And I like that.
People like us who have very obscure tastes in things can find the books that our local bookshops probably wouldn't have had stock of.
Remember where we live, the only local bookshops we have in this town are Christian fundamentalist bookshops. And the local library, which has more Bibles than anything bloody else. It's got 2 fucking full shelves of Bibles in that bloody library. I've been there, mostly in Afrikaans. There are very few actual books in that bloody library.
But a friend of mine who...
Transvaal tax laws from 1963 and things.
But a friend of mine who is very heavily into ebooks recently had their mind blown away at Santon Library, which, from what I've seen of the photos they showed me, whatever, actually looks really cool and really nice. So there is that option of inspiring people to get more into reading, who may eventually down the line lead into these sorts of places.
Yeah. But another counter-argument for is ebooks save trees. Saves work.
Yes, they do.
It only kills pixels. And so far pixels haven't received their rights. I'm sure there's some hippie out there who believes video game characters are real and deserve equal rights.
Actually, I wouldn't put it past them.
People are stupid. After all, avocados are from space, or mushrooms are from space.
Yes.
Christ, I can't think of anything else. My brain is officially buggered now. But yes, I think ebooks have use. And normal books have use. If you like reading, you're going to read anyway. The good thing about reading a book is that it's the holding on to the item, the touching, the feeling, the smell.
For me, a real book is very much the smell.
As the older it gets, that ionization of the paper. Nothing like walking into a place full of old books. And extremely old books, they start producing spores which can create hallucinations.
Yes.
So I can hang around, hopefully I can hang around a very old bookshop in Europe and get completely out of my head and come up with 1,000 great stories. I'll be tripping on books. What a great way to go. Whereas ebooks have not only given the small guy access to the big wide world, but have also given the world access to things they probably wouldn't have heard of or seen.
Yeah.
Or writers they wouldn't be familiar with, or even the classics that you might not be able to find at your local library, like our one where there's only Bibles. There's no Moby Dick or any of the great works at our library.
Yeah.
But you can get any book of. I've got all of H.G. Wells I downloaded for free because he's obviously long gone. But that is there, and we have access to that stuff.
Now, I will also propose the fact that when you get an ebook, you can get a sample. So you can get like the first 5 chapters of the book for free, and then decide if you want to actually pay for the rest or not. You're not like buying it and hoping it's good.
I think it was Jeffrey Deaver when he was here on one of his book tours. I actually do go to book tour things on occasion when they're free. My Scottish Blood won't let me pay to go meet writers. I bought your fucking book. You should come to my house for free. You should pay for the right to come to my house and look at your book on my shelf. You bastards! But I think
there is a downside to ebooks. Exchanging.
Yeah.
Like you lent me John Connolly for a month, where I read it and then gave it back to you. I couldn't do that with an ebook unless I gave you my Google password.
Depends on the ebook.
Well, if it's a DRM free one, yes.
Yeah, EPUB or PDFs, you can swap those.
No, but a lot of those are still, you do get DRM versions of those.
Oh, right. Well, I need to create that for my book then. We need to instigate that, so at least I can sell more than one copy. Maybe I'll sell you. I'll sell you three because you'll break it.
When I get to the point that I actually can like release mine, the main thing I want to do is make sure that I can get it copyrighted, so that at least it is mine.
Technically, it is copyrighted as soon as you create it. You just have to put the copyright and the date in your signature, and it's yours, copyrighted.
As long as that's like legally recognized, that at least no one else.
75 years, then you're dead.
So as long as no one else can, like, if I release a book and it never gets like famous or makes huge sales or anything, because I'll probably do it for free anyway. Yeah. I'm cool, but at least I'd like to be known that it was my creation, my idea. I wouldn't want some twat on the internet to find it and start selling it under their own name.
Yeah, well, that sort of thing I think you have to go through. Again, that's one of the issues of the ebook, is you can do that, whereas a proper book, it's published, it comes under your ISBN name, there's a whole list of numbers, so you're a registered person, an entity, you've got an ISBN number and all sorts of shit for an actual book. Whereas an ebook, you don't really have that kind of business. Especially if it's a free one, it's thrown to the sharks, as it were, and hopefully they don't eat it. Mm. But I think, as I said, I think it was when Jeffrey Deaver was here, and he said he read The Lord of the Rings as a kid, and he loved it. And he saved up all his pocket money, and he bought the Silmarillion. And he said it was one of the greatest disappointments of his life, because he was at that age, and it was just way beyond his mind comprehending. His head almost exploded. But
not for everyone.
Especially when you're only about 10 or 12 years old. But he said from that, so the ebook thing is actually really good for that. So you can go, I like this thing, let me read something else by this guy. Oh wow, this Silmarillion thing is incredibly turgid and heavy compared to, say, The Hobbit, which I just read. What about the other work? Lord of the Rings, I had five free chapters, sample chapters. Yeah, I could read that. And you go along with it.
Yeah.
Instead of just buying something and you find out, you're practically reading Shakespeare and you can't.
The book that I'm actually reading at the moment that I've almost finished, it's called The Last Necromancer. And
the fuck am I reading? I literally cannot recall what book I'm reading. I'm going to go find my ebook thing now, because I can't remember what I was about to say what I'm reading. But oh right, back to H.P. Lovecraft. That is the colour from outer space.
Yeah, so obviously there it is.
She has nice hips. Leave me, lady, attractive lady.
Yeah, because
Slave Warrior Queen, she's pretty sexy as well.
Oh yeah, because it gives.
Damn it! I need such book covers. Why can't we get Raven to pose?
Yeah, well, you see, that's another thing for the ebooks, is all the stuff at the bottom is recommended books based on the books I've already read. So it's like, you liked all of these books. These are books that are similar to.
What's the chances I'll get my book published and the recommended things will be like, science? Do DIY psychology and how to cure your mental disorder through the use of shoes or something.
But yeah, so The Last Necromancer is actually like a side story to Frankenstein. Spoiler alert, by the way, because it doesn't actually reveal that until right at the end of the book.
I didn't think Mary Shelley wrote that much.
Basically, the story is a 18-year-old girl, Charlotte, in the middle of Victorian England, is living on the streets pretending to be a 13-year-old boy. Basically, her mother died when she was very young, and she accidentally resurrected the corpse as a zombie, which obviously her father was like, it's the devil, and kicked her out the house. now some sort of secrets, almost like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, like society, sort of working for the government but without the government's knowledge type of thing, picks her up and tells her that basically some like dodgy guy is out looking for her because he's busy building an army out of corpses by taking all the best bits of everybody, putting them together and making these like super soldiers. And now he wants to use her ability to animate them and turn them into his mob. But that's all you hear about it until right at the end when you find out that this person's name is Frankenstein.
Actually, going completely off topic again, but I just watched a TV series called Frankenstein. I think it was called Frankenstein's Monster, something like that. I did my usual. I was playing Fallout while watching, so. But essentially, that works. And Mary Shelley and them. She was part of a secret society that was actually trying to raise the dead, and she wrote Frankenstein, and it defended the religious people and blah blah blah. But one of the members of their little band has actually figured out how to raise the dead. But he started with children. He started kidnapping street children, cutting them up. The idea being to combine the best bits of a street kid to create a new life form. And because it's a child, it can then be influenced and grow up like a human. Unfortunately, the child mind is so weak that it cannot cope with such a concept, and all these zombie children he made suddenly exploded. They couldn't cope. So, yeah, the one they did find came to life. It ran down the road and fell in the river because it couldn't cope with what had happened. So then he moves on to adults, and the hero in the thing gets executed at the end. He gets hanged, lynched for his crimes, and they nick his body and chop his head off and put it on a new body. The idea being that an adult might actually be better at processing the reality that he's just had his head lopped off and stuck on something else. Of course, it ended with Sean Bean running down the road naked, screaming.
Nice.
Pretty much. I can't remember what's in the series, but I like that idea. That she wrote a book about something that they tried to do, and that guy went, yeah, she wrote the book about the thing we used to do. I'm going to do that again. Give me some children. He started chopping up the local school kids just to try and build a zombie.
Well done.
It's an interesting bit of Victorian madness.
Victorian.
Victorians were so strange.
Yes,
Mary
yes,
Shelley.
they were.
And old Shelley, the poet himself. Although I've never read Frankenstein, I believe it is incredibly turgid. It's even slower paced than bloody Dracula, I believe.
No, obviously was the way of writing back then.
I know, that's one of those things. I read Edgar Allan Poe, and I love Poe. But some of the times you read and you go, my God, could you just end with the description and everything else? And just get to the point.
I'm guessing
because that's the way we read in this modern age. We like information bits. Even you and I do, although we don't want to. We still want to get to the point as fast as possible.
I think the thing is, back in those days, only the toffs could read. So everything was very pretentious and overly educated because...
Well, I mean, he was. I mean, I know Edgar Allan Poe was very well trained. He was educated in Scotland and Ireland and spent time drunk all over Europe. Oh, he was English-Irish.
My problem is the fact that Poe has become this, like, god of goths.
Yeah, he probably would have hated the scene.
Actually, there's an episode of South Park that has that very thing happening. All the goth kids summon the ghost of Edgar Allan Poe, and he looks at them and says, "You fucking goth pussies, stop being so lame," and fucks off.
I like that. I think it was in The Raven where they... old John Cusack is playing him. The guy's giving him shit. It's like, yes. It's like, so people are being murdered because of his stories. Like, if I'd known that, I would have dedicated more of my life to eroticism. It's like, you're a vile man, an alcoholic, an opium addict, an atheist. An atheist? You mistrew me, sir. He's not an atheist. Like, he only drinks to alleviate his shyness. And the drugs are purely therapeutic. It's like, yeah, he would have hated the kids in the scene. But Andrew Eldridge does, leader of Sisters of Mercy. He hates the goth kids. They vex him. He's a guy from a rock band surrounded by all these idiots in plastic trousers. He can't go into a gig without half the audience squeaking. It drives him insane. Any more people shuffle two-stepping to Temple of Love, I think he'd probably start killing people. This is standard all over the place. Yeah. How many people has Corey Taylor kicked out of a Slipknot gig? Yeah, go away.
Yeah. Stop being a dick and let people enjoy the show. You know what? Fuck off. You leave the whole thing. That was funny.
Kicking people out for being idiots.
The guy was screaming loudly and harassing the other people that they couldn't enjoy the show. So he stopped the entire performance until that guy left.
Standard around the world, isn't it? There's always some chump. Always some chump somewhere. We've gone completely off topic as usual. But
Well, it's Rebellion Pod. It's
PodBoys.
PodBoys.
It's all part of 925 Rebellion's never-ending list of crap that we've done. But yeah, music! Yeah, the Swedish Condition, We Defy Oblivion. Fucking amazing. Get that album. Bottom line, books are awesome, no matter what the form.
Yes, you should read.
Although
it doesn't matter how you
pornography in Braille is very confusing. Nice to fill the outlines on it.
It doesn't matter how you do it, just fucking read.
Yeah, read more. Even if it's comic books.
And
That's one
so
thing,
you can stop being stupid. Look
remember,
at you.
Amy used to write for us, if you remember, last year or year before, 5 years ago, whenever this thing comes out. But she's a school teacher. And she actually teaches her kids with a lot of comic books at school. Because, there's, as I said before, look at us when we were at school. They gave you bad, boring books to read, and they killed your love for reading, and you never wanted to read again. That's pretty much, I never read until about high school, because I literally had no love after reading crap that was thrust upon me. I wasn't interested. I didn't paint after my O-levels, because I was so sick of the bullshit I had to deal with at school. I literally lost the love for a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Luckily, I got them back. But what she does is she gives them the turgid crap, but she also teaches them with comic books. So they read comics, which, it's not Shakespeare, but it's
reading.
It's reading, and they will awaken. Those who want to read will read. Those who don't, but won't, and then they end up, as famous people, and then you just want to shoot them for being so stupid and saying books are all wordy and shit.
Yeah, but
American celebrities, cretins.
Yes.
But she gives her students comics and that. And the fact is, more of them at the end of the day will grow up.
Because they've realised it can actually be fun.
Yeah. It's just they weren't, forced to read utter wank. I think the only thing that we read that was good in primary school was The Hobbit.
And that wasn't even set work, it was just by chance.
No, it was...
that day they had spare time for one of the periods.
It was set work for me.
Okay, for me, there was a period that we didn't have any work. So the teacher literally was like, here's a box of random books that I have. Everybody grab one, read it for this period. Next period, you must write a little essay about it. And I just by chance got The Hobbit. And like I say, because it was only that one period you read it, I never finished it. And that's what actually I had to have the end. That I actually went out and, I didn't go buy it because I was in primary school, but I got my family to buy it for me.
Yeah.
And then from there I went into Lord of the Rings.
And so forth, yes. And expanded your mind.
Yeah.
People who don't read are just really, really slow.
You must have a really, really boring life.
That I can agree on. I've met a few over the years, and I wonder how it is that they breathe or walk or talk, because they really don't seem like there's anything there. Right, you go away. We're done.